This is every single fight to make after UFC 272, Covington versus Masvidal. I've got all of the key fighters from that card on the screen right now, and you may notice there is an empty box next to all of them, and that's where their next opponent's going to go, who I have hidden around the perimeter of the screen. I'll slowly reveal those opponents one by one as the video goes on, and place them where they belong on the screen. Let's start straight away with the main event, Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. Dominant performance by Colby Covington. Some judges 50-45, some judges 49-46 at best for Jorge Masvidal. He had one decent moment in round 4, but other than that, it was mostly one-way traffic from Colby Covington. A decent round 2 for Jorge as well, but the majority of the time in this fight was spent in the favor of Colby Covington, dominating Jorge Masvidal and just putting a wrestling clinic on him for the 5 rounds. Very impressive performance by Colby Covington. He barely took any damage other than that one good punch in round 4. So I do believe Colby Covington can make a real quick turnaround and take on Dustin Poirier in the welterweight division. He has been calling out Dustin Poirier for a very long time, and you could see him over the last year or two trying to plant the seed of this Dustin Poirier matchup, and now they've got a bit of a beef back and forth. Dustin Poirier's had many interviews where he's trashed Colby Covington. Of course, Poirier said at one point that whenever he sees Colby Covington at ATT, it's on site, they're going to fight right there, and he's going to beat up Colby Covington at ATT. So I feel like Colby Covington right now is calling his bluff, essentially. Come fight me at 170. You want to move up to 170 and fight Nate Diaz anyway. Let's make me versus you. Why would you want to take on Nate Diaz, a guy who has no ranking whatsoever and does nothing for your legacy, when you could take on the #1 contender at welterweight and have it be completely justified? No one would argue Dustin Poirier, who arguably should be #1 right now in the lightweight division, moving up to fight #1 at the welterweight division, because of course he did beat Gaethje at lightweight. I believe Gaethje's above him in the rankings for some bizarre reason, but either way, Covington, Poirier, make that fight happen. The only problem is, and normally I wouldn't say this because it's not the right thing to say about fighters because they're all really tough guys. Poirier's scared of Covington, I think. And that's the problem with this matchup. So as much as I would love to see this matchup happen next, and Covington would love to see this matchup next, every single time Poirier is asked about a potential matchup with Colby Covington, he don't want it. And it's very obvious. There was a Mac Life interview not too long ago where he spoke about Colby Covington, and they asked him if he would be willing to fight him in the octagon, and Poirier straight up said, "No, I'm not going to do that. I don't want any financial things to be on the line. I just want to fight him in the street," which is just a cop-out answer. If you really wanted to fight someone, you would get in a cage with them mano a mano and take them on. And that's what Colby Covington's doing. He's calling Poirier's bluff. You said it was on site, so come see me on site, and that site will be the Octagon, hopefully in July. Maybe the co-main event of a pay-per-view. They could do Adesanya versus Cannonier as the main event, Covington versus Poirier as the co-main event. You don't even need much else on that card to make that a great pay-per-view, and I think that's what should happen next in the welterweight division. I know Covington maybe should wait for the winner of Chimaev versus Burns or the winner of Muhammad versus Luque. I don't want to see that right now. Maybe they could do the winners of those ones versus each other. When you've got beef like this and a potential big fight like this, you jump at the opportunity, and you do what you can to make that fight happen. Something's in my teeth. It's now gone. We can continue with the video. Let's make this fight happen while we've got a big matchup with a lot of hype behind it, and sell more big pay-per-views and have these big pay-per-view events with Covington involved. Him versus Poirier is what I want to see. Moving on to another fight. Jorge Masvidal lost the main event, of course. Let's get on to him. I believe that Jorge Masvidal's next fight, I mean, he's not got a lot of options right now in terms of top contenders in the welterweight division. I know some people on the analyst desk were talking about him versus Leon Edwards. Listen, Masvidal, I believe, was number 6. He's probably going to move down even lower to number like 9 or 8 in the welterweight division. And I feel like someone who's equally ranked to him at lightweight could be a perfect matchup for him. And that matchup is the notorious Conor McGregor. There is no more perfect time right now than right now to make this matchup. Make this fight happen. I really want to see this, and I actually don't mind. After seeing Jorge somewhat slow down towards the later end of his career, not quite have the same push in those later rounds as he usually does, I know Conor McGregor broke his leg, and arguably Masvidal would just beat him. Let's make it anyway. I don't want to see McGregor matchups where he's going to be the favourite and he easily beats the person that he's in there against, so let's make that matchup. I want to see McGregor up against a wall. I want to see McGregor come back as an underdog against a tough challenge for him, and I think him versus Masvidal would be a perfect matchup. And plus, here's why I do believe they will push to make the Masvidal versus McGregor matchup now. They just paid Masvidal a ungodly amount of money with his new contract. He needs to be in the main event of pay-per-views. If he's getting pay-per-view shares, you can't have him underneath 2 title fights in a feature fight position against some random welterweight contender or even in an 8 Diaz rematch. You actually have to have him main event of pay-per-view. And I think the best way to do that is to have him fight the only big guy who's not got a title that can really main event a pay-per-view at this point. Not Colby Covington, Conor McGregor. Perfect matchup in the welterweight division. Have Conor McGregor move up. Maybe they could even do a catch weight, but I doubt they will. So have McGregor move up to 170. He's bulking up anyway. That tells me that maybe he's considering a move to 170 when he comes back. He's always left that idea open. He's never said it has to be 155. He doesn't mind the idea of moving up, and I think that should happen in August. Masvidal versus McGregor, main event of a pay-per-view. Stack the undercard with names like Sean O'Malley, Tai Tuivasa, Bryce Mitchell, some of the upcoming stars that you've got in the divisions that maybe you could make into superstars. Kevin Holland, that would be a great card, no? Masvidal versus McGregor in the main event. Co-main event, Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera 2 or Rob Font. Feature fight, Bryce Mitchell versus whoever. We'll get to that in a second because he's also in this video. Kevin Holland versus someone. Tai Tuivasa versus someone. That's 5 fights on the main card, and an amazing main card that can create many superstars or build the name of some existing stars within the UFC. Let's move on to another matchup that took place. Rafael Dos Anjos beat Renato Moicano. Very impressive performance by him. Started to slow down in the 5th, but that's fair play. He put out a lot of output in the early rounds to make sure he got ahead of Renato Moicano. So I do believe, as much as I would like to see Rafael Dos Anjos get a jump up the rankings, Renato wasn't ranked. So I think he's in the same position. He might move up above Chandler, 1 position at lightweight at this point. But I do believe that maybe his next opponent could just be a rebooking against Rafael Fiziev in the main event of a fight night again. Make that matchup happen. RDA's a bigger name now than he would have been before, so it's a more hyped matchup. And honestly, after watching RDA's great performance in the early rounds with his grappling, it's actually a more enticing matchup than it was before. Watching RDA push the pace, watching RDA handle a guy like Renato Moicano, at least for the first 4 rounds, very, very easily. I'd love to see this matchup again because I'm more excited about it now. Fiziev, Dos Anjos, maybe in like June or July, fight night, something like that. Fiziev's recovering from the old Rona syndrome. He's going to have some time off to recover. I think it hit him quite badly, so I don't want him to rush back into training and have any problems like Khamzat Chimaev did a while ago. So let's do Rafael Dos Anjos versus Rafael Fiziev, a battle of the Rafaels, main event of a fight night, and the winner can get themselves a title elimination bout, maybe against the loser of Gaethje versus Oliveira. That's what I'm thinking. You could have Dos Anjos versus Oliveira, Fiziev Oliveira, Fiziev Gaethje, Dos Anjos Gaethje. Either way, those are great matchups. Let's see how it goes, but I think that's what I want to see next. I know Dos Anjos is going to want a top contender or Conor McGregor, but it's just not going to happen, Dos Anjos. As much as we respect you, you're probably going to get rebooked against Fiziev. Moving on to another matchup. Bryce Mitchell won in the feature fight against Edson Barboza with a very dominant performance. He took a little bit of damage, so he's going to need a little bit of time off. Not too much time off, but a little bit of time off to get down the swelling and stuff like that. And next for Bryce Mitchell, in my opinion, is a matchup against Giga Chikadze. Now, I'm sorry, Giga Chikadze, but I'm not really that sorry. You know? I'm not really that sorry because you talked a big game coming up. And now it's time to sort of, be punished for that. I know it's not a good matchup for you, Giga, but we're going to need to see you deal with some grapplers before we see you fight the top contenders. And what better way to prove that you can defend takedowns than by taking on a guy like Bryce Mitchell, who just beat the guy who you previously beat. Now, the only reason I'm making this matchup is they're probably going to do Ortega versus Yair. They might do Holloway Zabit, but I have no idea what they're going to do with Zabit, and I doubt they're going to do Mitchell versus Zabit or Chikadze versus Zabit. Zabit's going to fight a top 5 contender, and they're probably going to do Kattar versus Josh Emmett. That's probably a matchup that's coming up. Evloev's fighting Dan Ige. The Korean Zombie's fighting Alexander Volkanovski. Yusuf's fighting Alex Caceres, I believe, next weekend. This is all there is. Chikadze needs a long time off after his last fight against Keita, where he took a lot of damage. So let's make Bryce Mitchell versus Giga Chikadze in the middle of the year. July, August, again, maybe on that August Masvidal versus McGregor card, you could have Mitchell versus Chikadze in the feature fight. Maybe that would make Chikadze a little bit more willing to take on that tough matchup, knowing it would be under a massive spotlight where he could gain a bunch of fans on the undercard of a McGregor event and a Masvidal event as well, let's not forget. So I think that would be a great matchup in the featherweight division. It's the only one they can really make right now, unless they want both of them to take a massive step back and take on some up-and-comers that are outside the rankings, like a Dawoodu or something, which I doubt they'll do. So let's make this matchup. Bryce Mitchell, Giga Chikadze, perfect for me. Let's see if Chikadze's improved his takedown defense and see if he's going to be a real threat in the division. And let's see if Bryce Mitchell can deal with the stand-up of Chikadze, a guy who got the better of Edson, who he just took on, and see if he can implement his grappling once more against a top contender. Moving on to another matchup, Kevin Holland got a big win against Alex Oliveira in the main card position of the card, and I do believe that Kevin Holland is going to be taking... I know he called out Donald Cerrone. Listen, the crowd cheered. Everyone's talking about what a great matchup it is. To me, at this point, that's a bitch call out. Just saying. I know I have respect for Cerrone. At this point, when you're on a win, calling out Donald Cerrone is a bitch's call out. Let's be real. That's a real pathetic call out in my opinion. And it actually is kind of disrespectful. I don't want to see that matchup. That's a terrible matchup for Donald Cerrone. I don't want to fucking see it, man. Don't make that matchup. Doesn't make any sense. What does make a bit more sense, but also could equally be a better matchup, is Kevin Holland versus a man who's quite wild himself, called Nico Price. I wanted to see Nico Price versus Chaos Williams. Chaos Williams has just signed a fight with Randy Brown. That's a great matchup, but it leaves Nico Price out on his own. I know Kevin Holland wanted to fight with Daniel Rodriguez. Arguably, Daniel Rodriguez has already earned a matchup against a ranked contender, maybe a Muslim Salikov or someone like that. So I believe they should make Kevin Holland versus Nico Price. Great matchup. It will get Kevin Holland in a position to where he can start calling out ranked opponents and big names in the welterweight division, like a Robbie Lawler or someone like that. And I think this is the perfect matchup to make. Kevin Holland, Nico Price, make it happen very soon. Holland took 0 damage, so put this on the not April pay-per-view. Put this on the June pay-per-view. Put it on the May pay-per-view card. Add this value to a card, because Kevin Holland, Nico Price is a great headliner of a prelims of a pay-per-view. It also could go on the main card of a pay-per-view, depending on how weak it really is. It could also be a great co-main event of a fight night. So yeah, Kevin Holland, Nico Price, make that matchup happen. I'd like to see it. Nico Price, I believe his last win was against Oliveira as well, so that would make sense. Moving on to another matchup on the card. Marina Rodriguez got the better of Yan Xiaonan in a very close fight over a decision, 29-28. I believe she called out for a title shot. She's not going to get a title shot. Let's be real. They haven't even made Esparza versus Namajunas 2. So she's not going to jump the queue above Esparza. Esparza beat her, if you remember, not too long ago. So I do believe that Marina Rodriguez should arguably be next to take on Joanna Jedrzejczyk. Makes all the sense in the world. Joanna Jedrzejczyk says she wants Weili Zhang and some top contenders, and maybe they're going to do Zhang versus Jedrzejczyk too. I'm not really on board with that straight away. Let's not make these immediate... That was the last fight of Joanna Jedrzejczyk's career. Let's not run it back immediately. Let's have some gaps in the middle and do Marina Rodriguez versus Joanna Jedrzejczyk in the main event of a fight night, just to build it up and make there a bit of promotion behind it, and then put some great fights on the co-main event and feature fight to really bump up that card and make it worth its value. And let's make Marina Rodriguez versus Joanna Jedrzejczyk in the strawweight division. Winner gets a title shot, and do Wang Zhili. Do Zhang Weili versus someone else. Maybe even Yan Xiaonan in China, right? That could work. If we're ever going back to China to do another event, you could do Zhang Weili versus Yan Xiaonan, and that'd be like a good China-on-China matchup between two top Chinese contenders, which is very hard to come by. So I'm sure China would appreciate that. Let's make that happen, and also make Marina Rodriguez versus Joanna Jedrzejczyk happen as well. Moving on to some of the other guys that are coming up on the card that aren't such big of names. Sergey Spivak got a huge win against Greg Hardy by first round TKO, took 0 damage, wanted a bonus, didn't get a bonus, so he's going to be looking to turn right back around to get more money in, and I think the best matchup for him right now is probably a matchup with UFC veteran heavyweight Andrei Arlovski. Amazing matchup. I've been putting Arlovski against everyone in these videos recently, but I think this is actually one that could happen. Sergey Spivak arguably should jump over Sergey Pavlovich and take the number 15 spot at heavyweight. He's beat some good guys. He beat Tuivasa. He's just beaten his last opponent, Greg Hardy, which is a decent win. Not the best win, but still, he's beaten Tuivasa. He should get a bit more respect for that and maybe be put at number 15 in the rankings at heavyweight. Arlovski arguably could be put at number 15 as well over Pavlovich, but either way, do Spivak at number 15, Arlovski versus Spivak, winner takes the number 14 or 13 position in the heavyweight division, and I think that would be a perfect thing to do, and a good test for Spivak because it's not easy to ragdoll Arlovski, and I want more evidence of how good Aspinall is. If Spivak can't take down Arlovski, I just want to know how great Aspinall really is with all of these matchups we're seeing. So I think collide these two together and make that fight happen. Moving on to another matchup, Jalin Turner got a big win against Jamie Mullarkey. A great performance, beat him up, second round TKO, great finish as well. He's got a ton of hype behind him as well, headliner of a prelims, a lot of eyes on that position, so he's going to get a lot of following, I would assume. Either way, he needs a matchup. He's not going to get a ranked opponent. He needs someone who's going to get him to a position where he can get a ranked opponent, or someone who might even get him ranked number 15 in the first place. And I think that matchup is a guy who hasn't got a matchup right now, and no one really wants to fight, but can't get a ranked opponent himself, Damir Ismagulov. Older guy, maybe this is the time where Jalin Turner can get the better of him because Damir didn't look the best he's ever looked against a previous opponent in Rafael Alves. So let's make Jalin Turner, Damir Ismagulov. Another reason being, Jalin Turner got out-grappled by Matt Frevola, and we haven't seen someone try and grapple him yet since that time. So I think a great matchup would be him versus Damir Ismagulov to see how much his grappling has improved and see if it has improved enough to where he can be a threat in the lightweight division in all areas of the game. And I think a perfect matchup for that would be Damir Ismagulov to either get him ranked number 15 with a win, or put him in a position at number 16 or 17 to where he can start looking at ranked opponents. Moving on to another matchup, Umar Nurmagomedov got a big win against Brian Kelleher to take it home for Team Habib. They lost with the Takira and Bekov bout, but Umar got it done by first round rear naked choke. He wants an immediate turnaround. I don't know if he's going to get an immediate turnaround, but we can turn him around quite quickly and put him against a decent name in Victor Henry in the bantamweight division. This is why it's perfect. They don't want Victor Henry. He's like 35. They don't want to put stock into him to build him up at 35 years of age when he's only just got to the UFC. And he doesn't have much negotiation power either. And he's quite highly ranked because he just beat Raoni Barcelos. So, Umar Nurmagomedov, Victor Henry, perfect matchup in my opinion. And Victor Henry's really fucking good. So this is a great matchup. Both guys coming off wins, and if Umar can do what he's been doing to other guys in the bantamweight division against a guy like Victor Henry and finish him, because Victor Henry is near impossible to finish, he's going to be a really good-looking prospect moving forward to maybe get a ranked opponent next, or get an opponent that's going to put him at number 15 in the bantamweight division. I think the Victor Henry fight makes all the sense in the world right now. He's free for a matchup. Umar wants to turn right back around. Let's put them on the May pay-per-view prelim headliners. The early prelim headliners of the May pay-per-view, or maybe just a fight night feature fight or opener of the main card. We'll see how it goes. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. That's all the matchups I want to see. I hope that these are good matchups in your eyes as well. Some of them might not be able to happen, but I've tried to be rational about some things that could happen. Could you imagine July, Adesanya Cannonier main event, whatever they do in the co-main event? It could well be Covington versus Poirier. August, please listen to this card before you go. Masvidal versus McGregor main events. Co-main event, Tai Tuivasa versus anyone. Feature fight, Sean O'Malley versus anyone. 4 fight down, Bryce Mitchell versus Giga Chikadze. Opener of the main card, Kevin Holland versus Nico Price. Take my fucking money. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.